Let me read the sutra, then we will understand. Unminding the mind, keep in the middle until it drops. A very big problem with Shiva Sutras is it is too simple. It is too simple. Only an integrated person will be able to use these techniques. These are like a fire. Only a person who is ready will straight away explode by the touch of the fire, by the touch of the Shiva Sutra. There's a beautiful Upanishad story. One disciple goes to the master and asks, "Master, give me enlightenment." Just master repeats, "Tattvamasi Svedagedo, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi Svedagedo, Tattvamasi, that art thou, that art thou." 9 times he repeats and the disciple is enlightened. Story ends. Not 9 times, I don't know how many times I have to repeat. Why it is not happening? The reason is the Svedaketu was fully integrated, burning to receive the truth. That's a beautiful example Ramakrishna gives. The mother pearl will be waiting for the rainwater. The mother pearl makes the pearl with the rainwater. When the rainwater falls, he just carries the rainwater into his womb and goes down into the ocean. And whatever process is does on the rainwater only becomes pearl. So just like mother pearl waiting with a wide open mouth on the ocean above the water, she will be just waiting for the rainwater. She cannot take the salt water and make pearl. She needs pure rainwater. The moment one drop rainwater falls on the pearl, mother pearl, immediately she will go into the ocean, deepest layer, and she will start doing the process. She will come out with the pearl. Only a person who is seeking intensely like a mother pearl for the initiation, waiting with open being, the moment master utters some words, those words straight away enters into him and he carries that word, goes and sits inside his inner space, starts doing the process, comes out with the pearl of enlightenment. Opens himself with the pearl of enlightenment. Only that intense seeker, even few words are enough. Even few words are enough. You will see suddenly the being blossoming, expanding and expressing itself. It's a simple word, just like Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is it's called as Mahavagya. That art thou. It's called as Mahavagya. Means the word which straight away gives enlightenment. Vakya which straight away leads you to the experience of the Mahat, the cosmos, is Mahavagya. In this book, every line is a Mahavagya. Every word is a Mahavagya. He just says, unminding the mind, keep in the middle until it drops. Buddha calls it as a Madhya Pantha, middle path. Let's first understand how our life flows. Either it flows based on the greed, non-acceptance of your present state, non-acceptance of your present state, that becomes a driving force and starts moving. That's called rajas. We call this as a rajas. Restlessness. The next thing, non-acceptance of the inevitability of the life and death. Fear. When you don't accept the present moment, you start aspiring for more, and there comes greed, rajas, restlessness. When you are not ready to accept the future moments, that becomes fear, tamas. Understand? Non-acceptance of the present moment leads to greed. Non-acceptance of the future moments which may come leads to fear. When we can't understand, when we are not ready to relate with the inevitability of the life, you need to understand that word inevitability in a very deep way. That's a beautiful commentator, Bhashya, Swami Lakshman Jew. He was the one Swami whom I really wanted to meet, but he passed away. Just to meet him, I walked more than 9 months, but by the time I reached the place, I heard the news he passed away. He was the one great soul. I always repent by not taking the right decision at right time. Whoever I wanted to meet in my wandering journey, I never missed. I heard about him. I read one of his book. I had a very strong feeling to meet and started. Unfortunately, I had that foolish vow of not touching the money at that time. So I had to walk all the way. I felt that vow is supposed to help me towards enlightenment. That vow itself has finally disturbed me. It has become an impractical vow. By the time he was very old and he was sick, I also heard, I know that he was sick and I know he may pass away at any time. But somehow, I was walking. By the time I reached, he passed away. He beautifully comments. I wanted to remind and give the credit for this great treasure which is shared with the world, and offer my gratitude. That's the reason I remembered him now. He very beautifully explains the inevitability. For example, now I am sitting here and you are sitting here. Next moment, if you want, you can go from this hall to that hall, this hall to the outside room. This is a kind of a freedom. Second thing, you can only go, but you can't fly. You have certain freedom and you have certain bondage. Understand? There are few things which you can do. If you want, you can move the right hand. If you want, you can move the left hand. If you want, you can stand up and walk. But you cannot fly. The inevitability means this moment, whatever power you have, you will be able to handle those power. Whatever you don't have, you don't have. You may think, it is a simple thing. Why do I need to contemplate about it? If you look into your thinking system, you are constantly struggling to do something which you very clearly know you can't do it. Many times, you are constantly hitting the wall. Hitting the wall gives you ego satisfaction. Understand? And not only that, many times, you are struggling. Actually, corruption which happens in your inner space, the corruption which happens in your programming, what I call worry, comes from this very root, non-acceptance of the inevitability of the moment. I think maybe few more words you will be able to understand deeply. Let me explain in two ways. One, now, next moment if you want, you can go out or you can stand or you can be here. But this moment, you are already here. So this moment, what is inevitable. It is there. You can't avoid. Next moment, you may be able to change based on the availability of the power and freedom you have. That also in a very restricted way. There is a beautiful example from Ramakrishna that will throw more deeper and clear light on this concept. Actually, this inevitability concept, this truth, can straightaway lead to psychological revolution in you. That is why it's very subtle, very subtle. But if you can put your attention and understand every line I am trying to express. Another difficulty is I read his books in Sanskrit and my internal expression, the whole thing happens in Sanskrit. I have to translate the whole thing into English. That is where the difficulty comes, and moreover the English does not have such a rich words. Tell you honestly, English is a beautiful word for outer science, not for inner science. English is not the word to transmit the science of enlightenment, to transmit the technical things of enlightenment. Somebody asked Ramakrishna, is everything in the life is a fate or individual freedom? Do we have individual freedom or everything is predestined? Ramakrishna says beautifully, if a cow is tied on a wall or a pole, 5 feet rope is there. The cow has a freedom to sit or stand or walk around inside that 5 feet radius, but not more than that. So there is a particular part which the cow can do, that beyond that limit it cannot do. Beyond the limit everything is fate. The cow has freedom to eat whatever is available inside the 5 feet. It has got some freedom. But if a lion comes and attacks, it is a fate. Cow cannot save itself. If the cow behaves properly, with that freedom, the owner may extend the rope. If he is not bullying around, if he is not hitting people, if he is not doing nonsensical things to disturb others, the owner may extend the rope or may even completely leave it free, liberate. So the freedom, the individual freedom or fate, predestined, comes based on our lifestyle. We do have a certain kind of a freedom. If we properly use it for a right purpose, for not hurting others, living properly, that freedom can be extended or completely given to you. Accepting the inevitability. Now, this is the freedom we have. Next moment, we may have, may not have. And this moment, whatever is happening is inevitable. That is the way it is happening. You cannot bring the moment which is lost back and correct it, alter it. There is no time machine. Inevitability means accepting all these three ideas. First thing, you cannot bring things back and alter. Second thing, this moment is this moment. Nothing can be added to it. If you want, you can only add in the next moment. Third thing, even the adding in the next moment is not completely under your control. These three understandings, when it settles in you, it brings a tremendous psychological revolution. understand. The basic thing needed for enlightenment is psychological revolution. Clarity about the self, world and God. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva is the self. How you think, how you are driven, what is your inspiration, what makes you run in your life, what makes you move in your life, why you think, how you think. This understanding is Jiva. Then Jagat, how the clarity which happened in me or the desires and fears I feel in me, how I am going to connect it with the world. If I have some desires, how am I going to get it from the world? If I have some fears, how am I going to avoid it? Avoid those things being forced upon me by the world. That relationship is Jagat. Ishvara means the source for both. The source for individual self and the world is the Ishvara. Achieving that source, all these three is what is called enlightenment. First, having clear understanding about Jiva. Why you think, how you think. This clarity will give you the experience about Jiva. Then, how to connect with the world through your fear or through your greed. Achieving what you want to achieve or keeping away from what you don't want. This is the realization about the Jagat, world. The third, Ishvara, which is the source of these two, experiencing it. Actually, it's a very subtle truth, but very strong truth. Just by understanding, it can liberate you. Just a simple understanding, it can solve so many problems, so many things. The click will straight away happen just by understanding. This sutra is the Nitya Sutra. Nitya Sutra means you need to practice it eternally. Actually, anything which you need to practice eternally, you don't need to practice. All you need to do is it should become part of you. It should be internalized. Anything you need to practice in particular time only, you need to put your effort and practice. Anything which is Nitya Sadhana, the eternal practice, you don't have to do anything. Understand and internalize it. Very internalizing your thinking structure, your way of behaving, the whole thing will be totally transformed. Acceptance of the inevitability of every moment happening in your life. This moment you are sitting over. Next moment, if you want, you can stand. But you cannot fly. These three statements, if it is internalized, always your steps will be with a very clear idea of what you can do. It will never be too big jumping. It will never be crazy things. The big problem is, people come and ask me, suddenly Swami, everything was going well, suddenly my life has become a failure. Understand, failure will never be suddenly. It will never be suddenly. We always think it is suddenly because we never understood the warnings. We never looked into ourselves, what we are doing. If you don't understand what you are doing, naturally failure will be sudden. Understand, in the planet Earth, created by God, only miracles happen, never accidents happen. Problem is, when you don't have understanding and clarity, even miracles look like accidents. Miracles and accidents, actually both are same, which is not understandable by logic, which is not definable by your logic. Based on how you face it, you call it as a miracle or accident. If the same thing happens to your neighbor, it is considered as an accident. If it happens to you, it is a miracle. That's all, nothing else. How you face it, how you face it, how you see it. If you have the deep passion, look into the life and accepting the inevitability of the moment, everything is miracle. You are still breathing, still your heart is beating, still you are alive. It's a miracle. Why should you be alive? What right you have? People tell me, Swamiji, that is my birthright. I tell them, birth itself is not your right. That is the question of birthright. If you look with acceptance, the life with a little relaxed understanding, you will see everything is miracle. If you look with a restlessness, irritation, non-acceptance, everything is an accident. Everything is an accident. Your husband will look like an accident happened in your life. Your kids will look like biggest accidents happened in your life. And your house will look the worst accident happened in your life. Everything will look like a big accidents happened in your life. Actually, all you need is a simple psychological revolution happening inside your system. Just this one idea. Acceptance and realizing the inevitability of the moment. See, inevitability of the moment you don't need to accept. Whether you accept or not, it is going to be that way, that's all. If you are intelligent enough, enjoy. Otherwise, it's okay. That's all. There's nothing else. You cannot do anything about it. Whether life is an accident or miracle depends on you.
India has given birth to great Paramahamsas, mystics, saints and divine avatars who have consistently delivered this world from darkness to light. One such enlightened master, exuding divine grace, overwhelming compassion and unfathomable spiritual knowledge, all at a very young age, is Paramahamsa Nithyananda.
Koti Surya Swarupinam Anandagandha Ishwaram Bhakta Hridaya Nivasinam Nithyanandam Namostude. Koti Surya Swarupinam Anandagandha Ishwaram Bhakta Hridaya Nivasinam Nithyanandam Namostude.
Nithyananda was born as Rajashekharan, the second son of his parents Arunachalam and Lokanayaki in the temple town of Tiruvannamalai, South India. 10 days after he was born, the family astrologer predicted that Rajashekharan would grow up to become a Raja Sannyasi and guide the world, something his parents were not happy to hear. At the age of 10, Rajashekharan was initiated by Raghupati Yogi. In his moment of initiation, Rajashekharan was blessed with a vision of Parashakti. He went home and carved the vision he had in soapstone. One day, Rajashekharan was found etching a complex shape on a copper foil. It was the sacred Shri Chakra. The Shri Chakra is believed to be a diagrammatic representation of the cosmos. Sri Ramana Maharishi, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Sharada Devi were sources of inspiration for young Rajashekharan. At the age of 12, on the sacred day of Buddha Purnima, Rajashekharan had an intense encounter with the divine, an out-of-body experience that was to change the course of his life. By his 17th year, Rajashekharan's spiritual quest became too fierce to be ignored. He left home on a journey of arduous self-discovery with no assurance whatsoever, but only a glimpse of the divine he received at the age of 12. He wandered far and wide, studying and practicing meditation, from Tapovan in the Himalayas to Kanyakumari in the south, from Dwarka in the west to Ganga Sagar in the east. He wandered for 7 years in India and in Nepal. With just 2 pieces of clothing and a kamandalu, a holy water jug, and with no idea of where his next meal would be. One day in Gaurikund, he beheld a breathtaking vision. A young man with a glowing countenance and flowing locks was walking towards him with long strides and divine grace. Wonderstruck and gazing at him, Rajashekharan realized that this was none other than Mahavtar Babaji, the enlightened master dwelling in the Himalayas for thousands of years in perpetual youth. It was this great saint who looked at him and uttered the name Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda, an enlightened being in a physical body, young at heart but wise in mind. Rajashekharan undertook years of rigorous penance, intense meditation practices, and in-depth study of yoga, tantra, Vedanta, and Shaiva philosophies before he attained the ultimate state of consciousness, the state of Nithyananda, or eternal bliss. Word of the charismatic saint rode the winds in every direction. People visited Nithyananda from far and near. Effortlessly, he won their hearts. The time had come, and Nithyananda was ready to execute the real purpose of his divine birth, the purpose as a guru, as a master to the entire humanity. Life Bliss Foundation is his worldwide movement to spread his message of meditation and inner bliss. With its spiritual nerve center in Bangalore, India, and its Western Hemisphere headquarters in Los Angeles, USA, it operates through 1,000 centers and over 78 upcoming ashrams in 30 countries, causing transformation of humanity through transformation of the individual. How does one describe this great master? The charm of a child, the healing hands of a doctor, the compassion of a mother, the wisdom of a guru. To those who struggle under the many burdens of life, His presence itself is the answer they seek. In His arms, thousands find refuge, the ailing, the needy, and the seekers of God. The Master is an invitation to a journey inwards. In His own words, "Just allow me to light your being, then you will know that you are pure consciousness and your being pure bliss."
Nityam Sharanam Gacchami, Dhyanam Sharanam Gacchami, Anandam Sharanam Gacchami, Nithyanandam Sharanam Gacchami.
Nityam Charanam Gacchami, Dhyanam Charanam Gacchami, Anandam Charanam Gacchami, Nithyanandam Charanam Gacchami. Nityam Charanam Gacchami, Dhyanam Charanam Gacchami, Anandam Sharanam Gacchami, Nithyanandam Sharanam Gacchami.
Nityam Sharanam Gacchami, Dhyanam Sharanam Gacchami, Anandam Sharanam Gacchami, Nithyanandam Sharanam Gacchami. Nityam Sharanam Gacchami, Dhyanam Sharanam Gacchami, Anandam Sharanam Gacchami, Nithyanandam Sharanam